Hello, welcome back to Beauty Bee. Today I'm going to be trying to dupe the vibes of the Colourpop Baroque 9-pan palette with shades that I already have in my collection. This palette is beyond pretty. I love these cool-toned, colorful shades, but they're so gray-based that I feel like they would almost function as neutrals and be fairly easy to wear for every day. I am usually more into the cool tones than the warm. You would not know that based on this pumpkin spice nightmare that you see in front of you, but I really do love cool tones and I kind of want this palette. However, I suspect that I may already have it because I have liked this bordering on neutral take on color for literally years at this point. So I think I must have something similar. We're going to test that hypothesis today. I'm going to be swatching on my arm, and I think that's it. Let's get into it. When I first started planning to do this video, the first thing that came to mind was this palette. This has those kind of verging on neutral, cool toned, colorful shades. I don't think there's anything in here that's a super close dupe for anything in the larger palette, but we're duping the vibes, not the actual shades. So I think I'm definitely going to include this gunmetal shade. Which arm do I want to do this on? Let's do it on this one. Build that up a little bit more because that's what I would do on the eye. That's what I have done on the eye. There. Isn't that pretty? I think that's a solid start. And I think I'm going to leave this out because I suspect that this purple and this sort of very deep olive green might be very useful to mix in with other shades to get the kinds of colors that are in the Baroque palette. Okay, what's next? I think next would need to be my NYX Ultimate Edit in Ash. Again, this is a similar vibe, I think, just overall, although I don't know if that there's any sort of exact color dupes. I do suspect that this really shimmery gray that actually has quite a bit of blue in it, maybe I should hold it so you can actually see, especially with mixed with this blue, I feel like that could definitely fit in with the color story. I'm just going to dip into a mixture of those two shades. Now, I cannot say that that color looks identical to anything in the palette, but you know what? I think it looks like a close cousin of a lot of the things in that palette. And I mean, these two are not different enough that I would happily buy them as singles, but I do really like both of these. So they're both staying in for now. Is there anything else in this palette? Again, I feel like I can probably mix this gray in with some other colors to make things that would really dupe the palette pretty well. So I'm going to leave it out. So let's move to this e.l.f. 70s Feels palette. Now, the shade that immediately jumps out to me as being similar is this one. This is like the light neutral pop. Can you call a light neutral a pop in a palette? I think that's fair. It has that sort of... Actually, that's less cool toned than I thought, at least, especially in comparison with the other two. It does come off looking pretty cool on my eye, but I suppose not. Interesting. Maybe I'll try this sort of light purpley shade, or a mixture of the two. There's a mixture of the two shades. I do think that's much closer, but I suspect that I have something that's as or more similar elsewhere in my collection. So we're still on the hunt. And I think that's it for the Elf 70s feels. I actually don't know why I got this out. This doesn't have anything that looks particularly similar. Now let's move to this Wet n Wild, which does have this gray. So I think that'll be another mixer shade. We're doing some mixology here, I'm guessing, because we are starting to get to the end of the palettes that I think will have things that are really very similar. So, okay. Here is one candidate that I think might actually have some stuff. This is the NYX Ultimate Utopia. I think this green is a somewhat likely candidate. Yeah, that would fit in. See if I can't do a better swatch than that, but there. I feel like I need to remove this gold. It's a light brown, but oh my goodness, compared to everything else that's so cool toned, it almost pulls gold on me. Another shade from here that I feel might actually dupe the vibes fairly well is this deep blue. Yeah, that looks very much like something that would be in the palette. So here's where we are right now. I really like this. I think I'm gonna have to use this palette once it's done a few times. So pretty. Okay. So we're at 5. Is there anything else in this palette? I don't think so, not really. Nope. Purple, no, again, don't know why I got that out. This one seems promising though. I feel like this shade in particular, really either of these two shades, seems like a likely candidate. So I'm gonna go with the purpley looking one first. I really dug into that, oh no. I don't know why I thought I needed to do that heavy of a swatch, but it's kind of interesting in comparison. Again, this looks very brown. Huh. I'm gonna try layering a little bit of that gray over it, see what happens. Still not great. I mean, a pretty color, very pretty shade, just doesn't fit in with the other ones and doesn't really dupe the vibes of anything in that palette. Now I'm gonna try that gray just by itself. I don't know what I feel like that would dupe, but we're going for the vibes, right? Not the actual palette itself. There's that. I mean, I don't think there's anything in there that it particularly resembles, but I do like it, so I'm just gonna keep it for now. I feel like it does fit in nicely with everything else. Here's the last palette where I think we actually have a chance of finding some colors that really do almost dupe individual shades. I think that really sort of these 3 shades in particular are likely candidates. I believe also that I've gotten a very similar shade to that sort of bluish purple shade. I think it was through mixing these 2 colors in the past. So let's get the 3 sort of teal shades first. Here's the first one. I mean, that definitely looks like it could have come from that palette. I don't know that they have anything quite that teal, but it really fits in. This one next. Now I've got this green one. I keep saying green. It's it's teal, but it's definitely looking very green compared to everything else. And again, there's not anything that's super close, although I think maybe that middle shade in the far right column might be somewhat similar in real life. But again, it really does fit very well with the rest of the color story, so we're keeping it for the moment. And which one have I not swatched yet? I think it's this one. I mean, that was my critique of this of these two shades in my review of this palette. I just don't think they're different enough. I mean, this one does have some green glitter in it, and this one is more of a true metallic, but they're not that dissimilar. However, I think we're starting to get close. We're definitely gonna have to add some purple in here, but otherwise I really think I am on the right track, which great, because I'm excited about this. Okay, so let's mix. I think let's start with these two purples to see what happens. Clean finger, more or less. Look at that. That definitely fits in with everything else. I feel like it's almost not coming off as purple on camera as it looks in real life. I feel like you're seeing more of the gray, but I mean, that's kind of what happens in the palette too, so very pretty. I like that a lot. Oh my goodness. I think I'm gonna add this white shade. It actually has some golden to it, but it still really plays well with cool tones. It's sort of a candlelight shade almost. It's very pretty. There's that. It's the sheen at the very bottom of my arm. I think next I'm going to try to use this sort of grayish purple. Honestly, that might fit in fairly well just by itself. I mean, it's not the worst by itself. I don't think it really fits in. I feel like, again, it looks just a little bit warm in comparison to everything else, even though it's a very cool toned shade. But let's add a little bit of actual purple to that. This fairly warm purple from the same palette. Don't love it. You can take that off. And I think what I'm going to mix instead is this gray with this purple. We'll see how that goes. I do really like that. All right, so I'm at 12 shades, and I think I actually have a pretty decent take on this palette. I think this is lovely. Yeah, I'm definitely gonna use this a few times, and I will probably post the results on my channel or my Instagram, which is always linked in the description box if you are curious. And let me know what you think of this palette. I think it's beautiful. And I think that it has convinced me that I do not actually need the Baroque palette, which is the goal of this video and very apparent based on my arm right now. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed, and I hope you will consider liking and subscribing if you did. I look forward to next time. Bye!